Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Megan Morris with the CoVA Collective team here at Keller Williams, and we have Seth here joining us again. So I'll let him introduce himself.
Thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be here. My name is Seth Connell. I'm a local financial coach in the Hampton Roads area, based in Virginia Beach, but I work with clients all throughout Hampton Roads, Virginia, North Carolina, and throughout the entire country, from here all the way to Hawaii. So I work with folks anywhere basically on the planet, actually. But it's a pleasure to be here talking about what's going on today, and I'm looking forward to helping everybody out here, seeing what guidance I can give you in light of this very difficult and strange time we're in right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because we actually had you for our financial seminar in January, and obviously that was kind of pre all of the craziness right now, but I do think that a lot of the information you gave us is still very much applicable. So I'd love to, kind of go through and highlight some of those things. I know obviously with 2020, we're at record unemployment rates again, a lot of job loss and so forth. So what kind of stats are you seeing out there right now?
Well, right now there's, 70% of Americans, based on what the data are saying, experience some sort of financial hit. So this is affecting almost everybody. I mean, we had a little bit ourselves. Some of my clients, they lost their jobs. I had a few business owners I'm working with, even a salon owner who she wasn't able to work for a while. There was a lot of people who experienced some sort of financial hit, and even without a financial hit, there was some sort of disruption in life with this whole, shutdown of society that we had here. But what's been going on as a response to that, as of right now, we're at the highest savings rate since 1981. So that Ronald Reagan was president back in 1981, just for, that's 30 years ago. So that's something that is a little encouraging to me. But there's a lot of folks here who are out of work. We had an unprecedented amount of unemployment claims here. But, as we're kind of coming out of this and we're, businesses are opening back up, people are starting to head back to work. What I'm seeing is about 75% of Americans plan on taking some sort of financial action after the shutdown really fully passes and we're all back to work here. So that's encouraging to me, because as a financial coach, I want to empower people and see them take control of their situations here. So if this is you in that category, this is really the opportune time for you to start to take action to control your financial destiny here.
What do you think those actions are? Just kind of run through, the basics of what people should be doing.
Yeah, so if you're in this situation where, you experience some sort of financial hit, either, job loss or drop in hours, something like that, there's certain priorities to take care of first. That's the way that I teach. There's certain priorities, and then you build off of there. So the first principle that in terms of making a household spending plan and taking care of what's most important, the first of those things is the 4 walls. And that's your food, your utilities, your housing, and your transportation. And it goes in that order. So the first thing is making sure that you and your family are fed. Before anybody gets paid, make sure that your family are eating properly, because if you're hungry, that's not going to help things.
With food, I know we had one of those meal services, Blue Apron, Sunbasket, whichever one, and I know that was one of the first things that we had cut. Just because it was kind of more of that frivolous food category.
Right, yeah, that kind of luxury food spending, so to speak, eating out and whatnot. But basically, minimal type stuff, eating at home, making meals at home. I know, what a novel concept these days, but that right there, eating at home can save you a lot of money. But that's the most important thing. The next one is to take care of your utilities. So that's your lights, your water, trash, sewer. If you have gas lines, making sure you take care of that. Because if your lights go off and all that gets turned off, that's also a really unpleasant place to be at. So take care of those after you make sure you're fed. After that, it's your housing. So your mortgage, your rent, making sure that's paid on time so you're not under threat of eviction or foreclosure. And then after that, you go to transportation. So making sure there's gas in your car, it's functioning properly, and you can get to and from work. As of right now,
it's a lot cheaper right now, even filling up the tank, because you aren't going as many places. So at least that helps.
Yeah, it has dropped down significantly. The General Assembly did enact a gas tax increase that went into effect earlier this week, though. So your gas budget will kind of go up a little bit as a result of that. thanks for all new taxes there. But still, it's a critical part of your four walls there. And if you have those four things taken care of, if you're in a financial crisis and you can at least take care of those, you can stay afloat for a little while until things start to return to normalcy.
And then after the four walls, what are your recommendations? So if you are, able to save a little bit more during this time.
Yeah, so from there, the next best thing to do is to go to secured debts. So this is going to include your car. A lot of folks, have a car loan. Some folks I'm working with, they have furniture loans even, so financing their furniture, or something like a home equity line of credit there, because there's a security attached to that. If you don't pay on those, the creditor would be able to repossess the item, and then you would be out for that. And especially when it comes to a car, if your car gets repossessed, what they can do is not only take possession of it, but what they'll usually do is they'll sell it on a repo lot, and then it'll be below book value as well. And often the dealership or the bank will come after you for the difference there. So you can be out a car and also have an additional judgment against you there.
And then talk about all the credit card debt, because obviously I think all of us are kind of in the same boat where, you're not having all the same money coming in, but you still have these expenses. So I imagine many people have had a lot of credit card debt increase.
Yeah. So what's actually kind of interesting is a lot of folks have been avoiding using credit cards in this. Because if you have no income coming in, you can't make the payment the next month there. That's something that seems to be at the forefront of a lot of people's minds there, which is striking to me because as Americans, just kind of the way our economy.
I imagine it was opposite.
Yeah, we've kind of become accustomed to using credit, but when financial difficulty comes around, it's easier to go back to good financial habits. It's kind of like how back in the Great Depression, savings rates were through the roof there, and people lost things because they borrowed, not because they saved. So if folks who went through the Great Depression, the folks we're kind of coming to a time where a lot of them are passing away here, but they still, all throughout their entire lives, they don't borrow money and they save. And a lot of them, they put their money in their mattress. That's a real thing that happens. But yeah, but still, credit card debt, personal loans, those things are still going to be in there. So if you can take care of the things we talked about before, and then you still have some left over, then take a look at what your credit card and personal loan payments on there are. I'm having to guide some of my clients right now with negotiating with their creditors, doing some payment deferments if they can't make it right now. And because of the situation, there is a lot of flexibility with the banks for the time being. So if you can, you might want to look into that and take advantage of that. But the important thing is that in the long term, if you want to make sure you don't have to deal with that again, getting rid of your credit card and personal loans is something that developing a plan for that is something that'll really help you out. Now, in terms of other unsecured debt like student loans, which is really quite a mess these days, there is currently a temporary forbearance on that through the end of September because of the CARES Act. So there are not any payments due for federally insured student loans. If you have private loans, those are still going to be due. But for federally insured loans through Great Lakes, Navient, Nelnet, and FedLoan, you don't have to make payments on those for the time being, so you can focus on what you have to do inside your household there. So just something to keep in mind, but they're coming back in October. And
then what are your other steps you think for taking control of your money? Because obviously I think that this, as you mentioned, has been a good foundation point for people to really kind of hone in and get things back to the basics. So what do you think in terms of taking control of money and debts and budget planning and so forth?
Yeah, so this is in personal finance, 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and that to me, honestly, I find that heartbreaking. But one of the most important things to do in this situation, if you find yourself there, is to start believing that you can have something different. Earl Nightingale, he kind of was the first motivational speaker back a few decades ago. He has the strangest secret is that we become what we think about. So if you believe yourself to be able to pay off your debt, to have financial freedom, financial success, you will start to act in ways that are consistent with that. If you believe that you can't get ahead, there's no way to get out of this, it's likely you're going to have similar results there. So changing your perspective and your belief in your ability to do this is really a critical part of this. And once you start believing that, deciding that you've had enough of the stress and anxiety, the paycheck to paycheck, deciding that enough is enough. You're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you want something different. and determine that you want your financial life to look differently, that you don't want to have all the stress if something like this ever happens again, if we have a recession like we did in 2008, that you're not going to want to be on the edge as so many other people were. You got to determine in your heart, mind, and soul that you will not be in that position, and start taking steps in order to address that now.
And what about in terms of consultations? How easy is it to kind of set that up?
Okay, yeah. So with me working as a financial coach, I work with folks in all areas of life here, and I help you to develop that plan of action in order to help you get to that better financial place here. So if any of y'all want to host a consultation with me, that's complimentary. I don't charge for that. But we can meet by Zoom. You can go to my website, coachconnell.com, and then you'll have my book now section on the website, and you can just go there and schedule a time that works for you using Calendly. And I'd love to just kind of hear where you guys are at, and just where you want to go, and identify what exactly it is you can do moving forward. I work with folks from all across all backgrounds, income spectrums. There is a better path moving forward here, but it involves believing you can achieve that, and then also taking action to do that. And I encourage you and give you hope that there is a better future there.
To note, like you said, in terms of all income levels, because I think when you hear financial coach, you think, so I think it's good that you do capture that, hey, there's help for everyone on all spectrums. So
even right now, just getting started, some of the things you can do that don't cost anything is you can listen to personal finance podcasts. Dave Ramsey, he's got the 3rd largest radio show in America. You can listen to that on the Ramsey Network app. Read some books and educate yourself on basic financial concepts and habits. And also, again, host a free consultation with me. I'd love to meet with you to see how I can help you guys do this here. And this is something that, as a coach, I love to do this. I love seeing transformation here. And if you want to have somebody who's going to guide you there, I'd love to show you how you can achieve that, because this is powerful information, powerful things that I do. And anybody can do this. You just have to believe it and put it into practice.
Well, and I know that we kind of threw it out to our network this week in terms of, questions, concerns, thoughts everyone had. And we actually had some really great questions come in. So I know one of them, as you kind of touched on before, was, I've lost my job, have reduced hours, how can I recruit this income? And I know you talked about the basics, but what do you mean in terms of recoup this income? What would you suggest for that?
Yeah, so there's a number of things that I'm suggesting to my clients as of right now. This is a type of situation where it's important to get creative, to think outside the box, to explore options that you probably wouldn't have considered before. I've got a lot of folks who are doing side hustles. One of my clients, they work full time. One of them, he works for the DOD. The other one's a stay-at-home mom. And they decided to really buckle down and do DoorDash. And in the first month of doing it, they had an extra $2,000 they brought in. And then this past month, they did it again, about 6 days a week for a few hours every day. And they brought in $3,300, I believe it was. So that right there, $3,300, that can cover, for most folks, that can cover the 4 walls right there. Right. So DoorDash, Grubhub, obviously Uber and Lyft, we're not really doing too much traveling even still right now. But food delivery is one. Even places like Aldi is hiring like crazy. Kroger, a lot of retail, even as just as temporary seasonal workers, that can help you guys to recuperate that. And obviously, it's not necessarily a long-term career change. Maybe you're at a point where previously you hated your job and you wanted to do something different. This could be the opportunity to explore where else you could branch out into. So if you're looking for a career change, check out the Ken Coleman podcast. He's a career expert, and he guides folks into getting into jobs they love there. So it's a great show to listen to. So definitely check that out too.
Yeah, I'm going to write that down. Not for my career change, but I have for people that are always asking. So the next item I know kind of comes back to us some is, given the turbulence, how can I be expected to buy a house, the risk, things of that nature? And I'll kind of touch on some of it, and then I'll let you take over from the financial side. So I know for us right now, and I'm sure everyone has been hearing interest rates. So they are phenomenally low. So I think that's been helping a lot of our clients where they do have that employment security and they don't necessarily have a risk of loss of job and haven't been as impacted on that side. The interest rates have honestly been giving them a great opportunity to buy in to where their monthly mortgage payment is going to be significantly lower than even rental rates around here. So
how's the market looking right now?
It's been very busy, I think, because now DoD has kind of made some changes for orders, so we're starting to really pick back up with our military traffic and so forth. But with the interest rates, everyone's kind of been hopping on for that, myself included. Just purchased a home. So yeah, I think as long as you have the job security side, then now is a really good time to capture that house.
Yeah, and it's a pretty hot market now because there's basically like 2-3 months of pent up demand. I had a friend of ours who they just bought a house actually, so in the middle of all this, but they were in a financially secure position to do so that was good for them there. But if you're in a position where you're thinking about if you can buy a house there, that's kind of where it's important to really critically examine all your finances. If you have a lot of debt, if your job right now is really unstable, it might not be the best time to either move to another house or to move out of an apartment into something, and instead work on getting yourself to the point where you can do that. Because when you buy a home, you have additional expenses. You've got your maintenance, you've got your property taxes, you've got homeowners insurance, you've got all these additional things. And what I've noticed for folks who buy a house who are really not ready to do that, it's effectively asking for trouble. And it's things like you think the roof is fine, but it needs to be replaced. HVAC system goes, windows need to be replaced. It's just all sorts of things tend to happen that way. It comes in waves, as the saying goes. But if you've got your debt cleaned up, if you have a good emergency fund, and if your job is stable right now, it's probably a good time to think about getting into a house because again, the interest rates are low, and if you can really do that, and what I teach as a coach is if you can find something on a 15-year fixed rate mortgage where the payment is about a quarter of your take-home pay or so, having real estate is an important part of a good financial plan there. So if you have a good state right now, yeah, absolutely think about it. Go reach out to Megan and see what's out there on the market there.
Okay, so one of the last questions, how can I become financially independent unless I have or use credit?
This here, I think, is kind of a reflection of the emphasis on credit in our society. The credit card is the single most marketed item in America today. I think it's something like $4 billion a year is used in credit card advertisements. And almost every week, almost all of us get some credit card advertisement where they give us the card in the mail too. So it's like they're trying to get it to us. And what that tells me is that they're making money off of this. There's a saying, I think it was Einstein, is that the one who understands interest earns it, the one who doesn't pays it. So credit is something that, these companies, these percentage rates, 15%, 25%, imagine making that in your 401k instead of paying that to the banks there. What I teach as a financial coach is not to rely on borrowing money. It requires some more patience. It requires taking things a little more methodically, a little more slowly. And while, lots of folks are buying things on credit, they're doing all the vacations, what's behind the facade there is a lot more stress and anxiety than what the Instagram pictures make you see there. So it's making different decisions in lieu of, having the Instagram perfect life there. And that's difficult because we like to make our lives look perfect, but life is not perfect. It's messy. We all know that right now.
I actually had a familyhood friend, and the saying was, is it a need or a want? Because you don't need a want. And that was always kind of the decision when in the store. Okay, am I gonna buy this? Nope, that's a want. So like you said, just kind of having that expectation, making some adjustments. Is it something that I can wait on and save in order to avoid putting it on the credit card? Or is it something that I need to have right now, and maybe it is that emergency item?
Yeah, and even for buying a house, some lenders do it today. But let's say you don't have a credit score, there is the manual underwriting process. And let's say you don't have a credit score, but otherwise you make your payments on time, you don't have any debt, There's some lenders out there like Churchill Mortgage that will do that manual underwriting process, and most of the time you get comparable interest rates as a result of that.
Yeah, we've had great success working with them.
Yeah, so it's there's options for you out there. You don't have to rely on FICO and sacrifice your future in order to get the things you want. It requires some patience, some self-discipline, but you can get there and not jeopardize your future. But it requires making a conscious effort and some temporary sacrifices for that longer-term gain.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Go ahead and recap your website and where people can go online to book that consult, because I think obviously as a free opportunity for people, it's going to be a great resource. So go ahead and recap for us.
Yeah, so my website is Coach Connell, CONNELL.com. And then if you look at the navigation bar, Book Now is up on the top right side. You can click on there and use my Calendly link. And I'd love to just meet with you guys. We can do that either if you're local, we can do that in person somewhere, or we can do it by Zoom, whatever you're comfortable with. And then again, that's complimentary, no charge, no obligation. But I'd love to hear where you guys are at, what you're trying to accomplish. And even, if you want to see how this works, take a look at the testimonials on my website as well. These are real people, real stories. This is something that, having an outside perspective and giving you some ways you can adjust. Sometimes the little adjustments make all the difference there. And if you do that over a long period of time, it can mean the difference between when you get to your 50s, 60s in retirement, having not much saved in there, or retiring millionaires, as the folks who are on this plan that I teach are doing right now.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. We hope everyone enjoyed these little tidbits of information. Definitely reach out to myself or Seth for any additional details. So thank you so much, and we'll talk with y'all soon.
Thanks, Megan. Glad to be here.
Bye.